This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. My name is Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you around the world on the XZBN from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free 800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our website, xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Carole Obley, and she's been bridging the gap between heaven and earth for so many years, nearly, a number of years. And she has done, well over 7,000 readings. My heavens. And it's no surprise that she is becoming a sought-after medium, author, workshop leader, and speaker, giving the startling clarity, specificity, and accuracy with what she sees, hears, and senses people's loved ones in spirit. Joining me now is Carole Obley. Her website is soulvisions.net. Have you ever had one of those days, Carole?
I have. Thank you, Rob, for having me. And it is, Soul Visions is all one word, and it is .net, not a .com, a .net. Yes, I've had days like that.
My apologies, dear. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you discovered that you had this beautiful gift of bringing the two sides together and being a conduit for so much closure and helping so many people.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for using that word, bringing, being a conduit, because simply put, that's what I am. The real reunion and the connection is between the sitter and the receiver in groups and private readings that I've done, and those in spirit, those loved ones in spirit. Actually, I'm quite different from many mediums. Some of the popular mediums like in America, like James Van Praagh and John Edward, they were aware of their ability from a very young age. However, I did not come into recognition of my ability until I was in my late 30s.
Wow.
So, and it was actually through a catastrophic event that occurred, and that event was a fire that took me out of the work I was doing. I had owned a business, and it burned to the ground.
Oh my God!
And so, I feel it was the universe's way of saying, "Wake up, pay attention. This is your new pathway you're to be on." So, I was born with this ability. If you look at my astrological natal chart, which some of your listeners may be familiar with astrology, you can see what a person's qualities are. And indeed, in mine, I have the sensitivity. So in my late 30s, I came into that awareness, and I took a lot of development. I've taken a lot of training and have been working ever since. And it's nearly, I'm approaching about 2 decades of work in the field.
Wow. What was it like the very first time that you realized that you were actually communicating with the other side?
Well, it happened quite spontaneously. I had things happen that I just knew ahead of time. So it really wasn't mediumship. It was more of a psychic ability. By the way, the difference is a medium is one who actually communicates with those in spirit. A psychic is one who is able to feel and see and interpret energy, the energy field and the aura around a person. So I really started with those sorts of experiences and then transitioned into doing mediumship, which just happened when I was doing readings, when I started doing readings. So it came about just quite unexpectedly.
But what did you feel like? How did it feel?
I felt a sense of awe, actually, and I've always felt that, and I still feel that 7,000 readings later. When I read for people, I just finished up today's readings, and it's always very rewarding for me to be a small part of people's healing in some way. So it feels, it's the deepest sense of fulfillment that I'm really united with my purpose on the earth.
We are so happy you're with us tonight. Carole, please stand by. You and I have to take our news, but we'll be back after. No, this is a 2-minute break. I'm sorry. Exonation, our guest this hour is Carole Obley, and her website is www.soulvisions.net. That's www.soulvisions.net. And Carole and I will be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break talking about mediumship, communicating with the other side, and much more. Whatever you do, don't go away. We'll be back. Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X-Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com.
Do you have a dis-ease that you would like to alleviate through a natural means? Have you been contacted by angels, ghosts, or even extraterrestrials and want to validate these experiences? Or would you simply like to speak with someone who can help you find your life's purpose? I'm Dr. Joseph Mara, and I'm offering my services free of charge for first-time clients contacting me during the month of April. These free consultations include angel card readings, guided meditations, life coaching, and energy healing. If you have always wanted to explore these types of experiences but were skeptical or simply could not afford them, then take advantage of this free special offer. Contact me through my website, aguidinglight, spelled LITE.com, to schedule your consultation today. Until then, I offer you love, light, and laughter.
Explanation, Carole Obley is our very special guest this hour. Her website is soulvisions.net. That's www.soulvisions.net. Carole, how do you communicate with the other side? I was wondering if you could share the process with us.
Yeah, and by the way, I've authored 3 books, and in my latest book, Soul to Soul Connections, I describe that process to help people understand in the simplest way that I can what it's like from my vantage point, my perspective as a medium, if you will. And picture, if you will, a triangle. It's that simple. And it's me on one point of that triangle. It's the spirit world on another, and the receiver, the sitter, the person who's receiving the message, on the other end. So it's really, that's the communication. It's triangular, and if any of those are skewed, the communication is kind of like getting static on the radio. So the way that the information comes to me is through these things called the inner senses. Clairaudience, which is, clair is from the French, by the way, it means clear, and audience is listening, so that's hearing, and clairvoyance, of course, is seeing through the third eye, or the sixth chakra in the body, and clairsentient, which is feeling. So those are what is called the inner senses, or the spiritual senses. And when I sit with somebody and say my prayer, after that, I start getting those senses kick into gear, if you will. And they kind of form sort of a tapestry. And then I have to put that into language, what I'm perceiving, and then I communicate that to the receiver. So in the simplest analogy, that's it with the triangle, and that's why it's important. I always tell people, if they're coming for a reading, how to get a good reading is to be prepared to receive, and that would be through doing some spiritual connection like meditation or prayer, and then writing questions. I actually have a page on my website where I list those things so that people can get the very best when they come for a reading. But that's how it works.
All right. Somebody contacts you and says, Carole, I'd like you to help me communicate with my grandmother or my grandfather. There are certain unfinished questions or matters that I need to have closed. I need closure. They come to you, they sit down, and you try your very best to communicate with Grandma or Grandpa or Uncle Sam or whoever. But what you don't know, and what the person requesting the reading doesn't know, is that the person that they're looking for didn't go upstairs. They went downstairs. What happens?
Meaning to the lower levels of the spirit worlds, what most people call hell, I presume, what you're referring to. Yes. Well, I can tell you first, and by the way, what I share in my books and in interviews such as this one are my experiences. Other mediums might have different experiences. What I talk about and write about are truthful, valid experiences that I have personally, had. So what I have seen is that there are levels, indeed, to the spirit world. Most people go, when they cross over, they go to the mid range. If you're a decent human being and you've not harmed anyone and you've led a relatively good life, you'll go to those middle levels. Spirits that are in the lower levels, I will tell you that sometimes they do communicate, and they will say, I had to do a lot of healing work when I came over here. And I have directly seen that. I know it to be true in my experiences that I've had in 2 decades. Healing work would involve looking at the life review. You've probably read books or
Yes.
heard of that phenomena that happens. I can tell you that is indeed, that's true. We do that. We have the life review. And from that, there's an assessment that's made, and that will determine the new space that soul will occupy in the spirit world and where that space is. So, have I ever communicated with evil spirits? No. I can truthfully tell you I have not. There are those who have come through, however, that have done things in their life that we would consider probably not the highest and best. An example would be someone that was abusive. I've had readings like that. Someone's dad comes through, and I am seeing an image of him, with a belt or something.
Oh, gosh.
And I will communicate that to the person, but that the dad has now seen the repercussions of the choices that he made when he was here. And he has to balance that, and that's what's called karma. Karma being neither good nor bad, it simply is energy that we've created, that we are responsible for. So based on that, on our consciousness when we died at the time of death, that determines where we go in the spirit world. I hope that answers what you were saying. 'Cause it's kind of like, there's most people are going to go to the mid range, but I have seen the lower levels, and there's actually, and this is intriguing. What I've seen is there is actually less light there in the lower levels, the ones that are closest in vibration to the earth, and it's just a darker place. But those souls can, ascend from there as long as they demonstrate willingness that they want help, and help is always available from those who are trained to do that on the other side.
Let me try and get a comparison for our listeners. Most people listening have seen Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg. How close to reality was that movie?
Very close. I have seen the movie several times, and I can tell you I don't look like Whoopi Goldberg. And I'm not bothered all the time like that, or like the Long Island medium that, is constantly, she goes in to buy a bagel and there's, she's hearing from somebody's loved one. I could do that, but I don't want to.
Right.
I turn it off. But it is very similar to that story. And I'll tell you the other movie, Rob, that's very close to what I have personally seen.
Okay.
And that is a movie, I believe it was out maybe 10 years or so, with Robin Williams, called What Dreams May Come.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Have you seen that?
Yes, I have.
Yes, and if you remember, he went to the other side. He was looking for his wife, I believe, and it was very fluid. The depiction of the spirit world was very colorful and very fluid. And that's what I have seen too. The glimpses that I have been blessed to see in the readings that I've done. So both of those, I would say, are good analogies, good examples of what it's like.
What kind of messages do the members of the spirit world give you to give back to those on this side? Well,
the most common message is, I go on after death. I'm still alive. My second book, I titled it, I'm Still With You. That's why I titled the book that. And I heard myself in reading saying that over and over to people that their loved one is still right there beside them. They're just not there physically. So the most common message is, I survived death. My consciousness goes on. Secondly, there are messages regarding the person that's receiving the message to go on with their life, to not stop their life because that person has passed, to honor them by living life to the fullest. And then there's a lot of evidence. I've been trained heavily in evidential mediumship, which means giving facts, giving not generalizations, but the names, the conditions, physically, mentally, emotionally, that the individual had.
So there is no doubt in anyone's mind that the person that you are communicating with is in fact that person.
Quite honestly, very seldom have I ever heard clients say, like, well, I don't really think that was my mom or my brother or my child. Quite honestly, and I say that without any ego involved with it whatsoever. I really, there's a very strong link, and that is why I specialized in evidential mediumship, because it does create a deeper heart connection with the individual who's receiving it. And so if we have a deeper heart connection, healing happens more easily. And so it's all sorts of things. Those are what comes to mind with your question. Those are the most common ones. There's all sorts of things that spirits communicate. Memories to create validation, recent events in the sitter's life, in the family, many things that really prove the continuity of consciousness.
Is it easier to communicate with a younger spirit or an older spirit?
Doesn't matter. I will tell you, probably the most challenging readings are those in which pets come through, because animals do not have language. So there's a lot of clairvoyance involved, and with clairvoyance, because they're pictures, I have to interpret what I'm seeing. So it's different than, if I hear something, it's aside from names that sound very similar, which I can goof up, which happens. Clairvoyance is a bit more, it challenges me because of that, and animals do come through. They don't die either. So they go with people that they knew and loved in life, in the spirit world.
All right, stand by, Carole. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exonation, our guest this hour is Carole Obley. Her website is www.soulvisions.net. That's www.soulvisions.net. And Carole and I will be back on the other side of the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Once again, if you'd like to contact Carole, visit her website at www.soulvisions.net. We'll be back. Don't go away. Are you considering calling a psychic to read your situation? Then consider David Champion, a psychic medium for more than 20 years with thousands of readings under his belt. David Champion will make you feel comfortable. He has proven to be honest and accurate. He's a straight shooter. There's no guesswork. What he sees is what you get. While he is a medium, most of the calls focus on relationships, not only love, but work, school, neighbors, and more. Need help with finding a job and preparing for the interview? Are you dealing with people who are obstacles in your path? For more information, go to davidchampion.com, $1.50 per minute paid by credit card with a minimum of 30 minutes. For your reading with David Champion, call 1-877-702-8598. That's 1-877-702-8598. Now you can dial in to listen to the X-Zone Radio Show from anywhere in the world with Rob McConnell 24/7, 365 by dialing 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080. If you have a mobile phone or landline, the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is now at your beck and call at 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080, 24/7, 365. Welcome back, everyone. Carole Obley is our special guest. Her website is www.soulvisions.net. That's www.soulvisions.net. Is it harder for you as a medium when a mom or a dad come to you and want to communicate with a child that has passed?
No, yes and no. Yes, it's hard. Sometimes I'm very. Let me put it to you this way: I'm very protective of not absorbing anyone's emotions and energy because I deal so much in other people's energy all the time, and I don't want to do that. So when I first began in the early days, I really felt the grief of parents, that were common. There's been a lot of them. Now, no, I read from a detached yet involved place where there's I'm able to really express a lot of compassion, and people. One of the things that people have said about my readings are the level of compassion that's there, and I think that's very necessary to not get down there and be crying with the people, but yet express the understanding that you understand their grief. Although I've never lost a child personally, but to acknowledge that with people. So in my second book, there's a chapter called Forever Young, and there are 4 stories in there directly transcribed from cassette tapes. That's really dating me, isn't it? Cassette tapes that I with people who have lost kids. And the amazing thing about parents, these 4 families that I chose out of my archives to include in the book, was that these people all used the death of a child as a catalyst in their own spiritual growth. And they all went on to do things and create things that they would not have done had they not gone through that tragedy. So I wanted to show in I'm Still With You how this type of communication can help people. It's another tool, if you will, in the toolbox of healing grief. And those people I felt that I included in there in my second book were very good examples of that.
It's almost as if this is part of a plan, that nothing is spontaneous, nothing is the spur of the moment, but it seems to be part of a plan.
Do you mean an early passing, or do you mean
life in general? Life in general, because here you're talking to you were talking about these families who, because of the passing of a member of their family, it catapulted them into something else.
Yes.
Do we misunderstand what death really is?
I believe so, and I'll tell you why. Death it's a transition, and if we think of if we can use the symbol of a bridge, and on one side of the bridge we're in that space, and we begin to move across that bridge into a new space. That's really what death is, and really, in essence, what it is a return to our natural state. This here in the physical realm, in this dense, relatively dense realm that you and I are existing in right now, that is just one small aspect of who we are. The divine self, or the soul self, is what continues forever and ever and ever. And I tell people, it's kind of a joke. I say, I don't believe in life after death. And I get these shocked looks from people, and they're like, what? And I say, I know it. And I put my hand on my heart, because it's not a belief. A belief to me implies that, it's something, well, I think it's true, but I'm not certain. I'm going to trust that. I know it's true. I know because I've directly seen it, and that we continue on. On the topic of, is this planned, is this part of a plan, in my second and third books, I've written about these things called blueprints. And blueprints are designs for living. If you think of a blueprint for a home that you're going to build, it's sort of the same thing. That before we come into physical form from the spirit world, we have a design. We make these blueprints, and I don't call them contracts like some people do. They're blueprints because they're more open-ended than a contract. So there's certain spiritual experiences and lessons, karma, that we intend, and those are in this blueprint. I don't know if you're familiar with the Akashic record.
Yes, I am.
I do a lot of work with the Akashic record. Long ago, Edgar Cayce, the famous American psychic who read in the 20s and 30s, has a lot of material about the Akashic, and in fact, he went there when he was in his trance to get information. So in the Akashic, we know that on a soul level, and we use that when we're designing our blueprint, and those are kind of encoded. They're energy. It's not anything physical. It's energetic. So it is a plan. It is a plan. You're exactly right with that. But I've seen how we have intention in the blueprint, but we can use free will to meet those blueprints. So in other words, an example would be, I intend that I need to learn compassion when I come into an incarnation. I could choose to do that through counseling abused children. Or perhaps I could choose to do it, through some other type of social work. Perhaps I'm born into an abusive family, and I learned that firsthand. I learned compassion and forgiveness. That's another big one, another big spiritual quality. So all of those divine qualities or spiritual qualities are what we come here to express more of.
Let me ask you this. Do you believe, and this is getting a little bit off topic, but I feel I need to ask you this question. Do you believe that at times in our lives we're visited in a physical manifestation of some sort from those on the other side who come to this side to help us in our greatest times of need?
You mentioned, do they appear physically? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, the analogy is angels. Some people say that they're at a very very low point in their life. A member of their family has come to them in angelic form. Do you believe that this is possible?
Yes, I've seen it, and I've had many clients who've spoken about that. The angels, by the way, have never been in physical form. You probably know that, but they can take physical form. And some of your listeners may have heard these stories about, someone's in a horrific car accident or something, and a stranger appears by the side of the road and lifts the car off of them, and then they turn to see who that was, and the person's gone or vanished. We've all heard these stories, and yes, I have seen in my work in metaphysics and spirituality that yes, that happens. Loved ones are not in the same spiritual vibration as the angelic kingdom, but they do come back to help. And
Right.
constantly telling people, or we're just reminding them, I guess, that those on the other side that we've known and loved here in our lifetime know our thoughts and feelings. They are not separate from that. They know when we're having sorrow. They know when we're having a rough time. They know when we have a serious illness. And they do come through. I could take up one of your whole shows on dream visitation.
Oh, we'll have to do that.
Many of those that I could tell you about. I personally have had them, and then many clients too. So that is a major ADC standing for after-death communication. And by the way, I credit that to Bill Guggenheim, who wrote Hello from Heaven. That's who coined that term, ADC. But those are spontaneous communications with deceased loved ones that don't involve a medium at all. So yes, it's a reality.
If someone from the other side wants to come back to help in a situation that we just described, do they need to get permission from a higher authority, or is this something that they have the full ability to do on their own because it's such an act of kindness? It's an act of mercy.
It is. I feel, and I do not know the answer to that 100%, and I'm very honest in my work. So I feel, or I sense that they do it on their own. And another thing I've discovered through years of doing this work is that it doesn't work when we here in the physical, demand that they come back.
Yeah.
For example, I've had many clients that say, "Oh, I wish my son would visit me in a dream," and he's visiting other people, but the parent may be holding on to it so tightly that it can't flow and can't happen. So I think it's at their discretion when they visit.
Right.
And it may be just to say, "Hello, I love you. I'm still connected to you. I go on in spirit. I send you love and blessings." And other times they may come with a message about the family, about warning. There could be a warning about the person, some sort of danger. I've heard it all, in that realm.
What is your most memorable reading?
Wow, there are so many. But I think I'm going to hone in on this one simply because it, believe it or not, I'm going to say this, it sounds really peculiar. At times, I myself have been skeptical of this work. That sounds very strange. But
No, it sounds very honest. It sounds very honest.
There are times I think, well, what am I doing? Am I really doing this?
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm very genuine. I'm very real.
Yes, you are.
I'm a Capricorn, by the way, and if you know about astrology, we're very down to earth. It's a strong earth sign. Anyway, I was that reading started one morning. I was waking up, and I was in that in between state, and I was not asleep though. I was kind of halfway, and there was a beautiful young woman, appeared to be about, I would say, in her late teens, tall young woman with blonde hair, long blonde hair. And I saw her clearly through clairvoyance, and I communicated to her telepathically and said, who are you? What do you want, or what's your message? And she didn't respond, and she was just there. And so she stayed, it was about 5 minutes, and then I woke up for the day, and I went about my business, and I really forgot about it. And that evening, I had readings scheduled, so I went into my office, and a woman came in, and you have to understand, I don't know anything about people except their first name before I read them. I don't know who they want to connect with. I don't know anything. There are people that come for repeat readings, but I always step it up a notch with other evidence. So I go in for this reading, and it was a woman maybe in her 40s, and I started giving the evidence, and it turned out, long story short, that she had lost a daughter. And I described her, And lo and behold, the woman had a photo
Oh, heavens.
that she pulled out after the reading. I never look at things before. I don't hold anything. I don't look at any photos before or during. And she pulls this out when we're done, and I said, "Oh my gosh, your daughter came to me this morning." And her jaw dropped open, and she said, "You're kidding me." I said, "No, I'm not, ma'am. I'm telling you, your daughter visited me. This is the girl
Right.
that came this morning." And so I used that. All my client names in my books have been changed, but I did write about her and that reading in one of my books. So that's really what comes to mind. There have been so many. I remember also the family that came. I've done a lot of family groups. They had lost their son. He was 21 in a car accident, very tragically. During the reading, I was giving the messages, 3 members of the family there. I had incense behind me that was absolutely not lit when I started this reading. It wasn't on fire. Halfway through the reading, the incense ignites and is burning. Just very strange things. I've been doing readings where lights flicker. There's all sorts of interesting things. But the example with the young woman, it really made my hair stand up on the back of my neck, and I said, "Okay, Carole, this is real.
Yep.
You're doing something here that is not, you're not imagining any of this. This is real stuff."
You're doing something that's very special. That's what you're doing.
Yes, thank you. It's
Carole,
special because it helps others.
Exactly.
That's it.
Carole, you and I have to take our final break. Please stand by, my dear. Exonation, my guest this hour is Carole Obley. Her website is www.soulvisions.net. That's www.soulvisions.net. And Carole and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 2 new things in the next couple of weeks. The new print edition of the X Zone Directory of Who's Who is coming out. And also, next weekend, the X Chronicles June edition. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break. Don't go away. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.matstein.com. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, They conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Exonation, Janice Obley is our special guest of this hour, www.soulvisions.net. First of all, Carole, great having you with us. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to be with us here on the X-Zone. Congratulations on all your books, but I guess the biggest kudo goes to you for being that conduit and for helping so many people get final closure and for connecting them with those that they've lost and giving them the ability to say what they may have never had the opportunity of saying before the person passed. So thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you, and it's really a pleasure. I don't even look at my work as work. It's been a long road to get where I'm at today with all the training and writing and all of that. But I tell you, that feeling of connection and fulfillment that I spoke of earlier is recreated every time that I do a reading. It's a self-renewal.
Speaking about readings,
so it's very rewarding.
Speaking about readings, do you do readings over the phone and via Skype for people around the world?
I do, and actually I'm very experienced at phone readings. I've done thousands of those as well. And yes, out of the country, many different countries. My books are available in other countries, and that's how those connections have been made. And people always say, "How can you do that? How can you read over the phone?" It's because it's energy, and energy is not limited to anything physical. It's not subject to time and space and geography. So that's how it works. It's much like prayer, you know. So yes, I do phone and mostly phone, but I am available with Skype as well.
Carole, we've got about a minute and a half left here. What is your final message to the listeners of the worldwide audience of the X-Zone?
Love yourself and be authentic and love the world. No one can be you. We are at a time right now where consciousness is shifting very quickly. And we're really at a point where, the earth needs cared for, and each of us has a responsibility in that, and being the very best that we can, and also know that relationships are sacred. Value relationships, and put your love into that.
Fantastic. Where are your books available, dear?
Amazon.com, and they're all my material. I also have created CD programs for meditation and self-learning, learning intuition at home. They're all on Amazon.com. You just type in my name, they'll come up. They're also available on my website, soulvisions.net, and all the books are on Kindle as well.
Excellent. Once again, Carole, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to the next time that we meet here in the X-Zone.
Yes.
Take care, my friend.
Thanks, Rob.
My pleasure. What a lady. What an hour. Imagine that, having the ability to sit in front of someone on this side who is devastated by the loss of a loved one. And maybe they just never had the opportunity of saying, "I love you," before that person passed. Can you imagine the weight on your heart? And then you hear about Carole Obley. You get a hold of her, and she is able to be the bridge, the conduit between this side and the other side, so that person can say, "I love you." That's what this lady does, www.soulvisions.net. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as the X-Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Once again, if you'd like to contact Carole Obley, www.soulvisions.net. Don't go away.